everyone. Welcome back to A Message of Hope. My name is Monet Souza, and today I'm joined with Zack and Greg from Blue Water Highway, talking all about their band and some of their upcoming tour dates. Guys, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Monet.
Of course. And a little note for my viewers today. So if you look back at any of some of maybe the past year's episodes before we started with some of our maybe 2 or 3 camera angles, some of our intro and outro music is actually the instrumental music from Blue Water Highway. So now we're putting some of the faces to the band of whose music you guys just really were so generous to let me have a little bit of copyright to use for my videos. So thank you again for that.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course. Well, all right. So please tell me a little bit about yourselves. You both are in Texas right now. You're childhood friends. You both are in a band together. What else can my viewers know about the two of you?
Yeah, so it's actually a big year for us because it's our 10th anniversary of our first album. So yeah, as you said, we go back a long ways. Zack and I grew up together on the Texas Gulf Coast, south of Houston, and kind of became musical friends doing shows and singing in choir and all that, and started a band about 10 years ago or so here in the Central Texas Hill Country, just south of Austin. And been we're about to release our 5th album. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
our 5th album of original music. I mean, we have probably almost not 9, I would say, albums in general, but 5th album of original music.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, okay, so you're growing up together. I'm just like picturing you're on the side of this river that you're naming your band after, and you guys have like your little like banjos or guitars or something, and like you're making music together. Is that like what this whole process brought you to? Is that like the beginning stages of Blue Water Highway, or how did you guys really find this love for music and then really brought those gifts together to be able to start this band?
Blue Water Highway is next to the Gulf, so it's like it's actually the ocean. So it's not but it is. There is also a river involved. It's the mouth of the Brazos River down in Texas, but it goes right along from like up to Galveston, south of Houston, Texas. But yeah, that was the biggest geographical feature, which I feel like is related in a lot of ways, maybe to our music, at least. Every album cover I feel like is somewhat leans ocean related. Maybe. Yeah, it just sticks in your mind. I think Greg was born in New Jersey, but right next to the ocean as well. So I think the ocean plays a big, not in necessarily like a Jimmy Buffett style of music way, but just in it's right there. It's the biggest geographical kind of feature. If you grow up next to the mountains, that's going to mean something to you. If you grow up next to the ocean, it's going to be a powerful thing. Definitely. And Greg got he's a couple years older than me, so he started playing music before I did. I was always a singer, but he started playing and singing before I did. So he'd come into our classroom, like we were in choir together, and he did Billy Joel's Piano Man. And I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Went home and I was like, I've got to take piano lessons right now. So, and we just kind of went back and forth writing songs, playing music. Even after we went away to college, I went here in Texas and he went to NYU. And we would just send songs back and forth. And after we graduated, we kind of thought, let's try to do this thing for real. Which was a pretty big leap for both of us, I think.
Well, it's also this, I'm in the sphere in the career of speaking, and even just the process of writing a talk. At least for me, it's this very prayerful thing. And even if I wasn't speaking on topics of the faith, I would still want to very much take it to prayer of like, okay, what's the body of the talk? What's the flow of it? What's the title of it? Is the theme intertwined the entire duration of this hour that I'm speaking for? How am I engaging with the audience? What are the visuals like? And so in a way, sometimes it feels like this performance where, I'm right up there on stage and I'm engaging with people and trying to make sure that I touch the hearts of those, because then if I didn't, then what was the point of the talk? Like, it's just it's just empty words that are falling flat, but I want them to do something to people's souls and to their minds to just get them on fire for whatever I'm talking about. And I would like to think it's similar to writing music, where there's this like time that you guys are taking to really create the body of these songs, these albums, these EPs, whatever it may be. So can you walk us through what that process looks like?
Yeah, well, we do it a bunch of different ways. I mean, I would say I'm the primary songwriter, you know, but Greg and I have also written a lot of songs together. And then our band, sort of 4 or 5 members, as it's changed over the years, have written songs together as well. But after the song is written, we'll get together and arrange it. But we'll have a vision. You know, every album there's a vision of the overall sort of message or soundscape, and we'll try to make that, you know, go into a studio and realize that it never really turns out exactly the way you intended, but sometimes surprises come along the way. Sometimes turns out better than you thought, so that's really exciting.
That's the best.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it so many different ways. You know, we had an album where we kind of went for a couple weeks to a cabin next to a river and wrote songs, you know, for a couple weeks, and then other albums where Zach has holed himself up in our little studio in the back here and just kind of written a bunch of songs, and then we decide, you know, here's 10 of the best that we want to take and record, or you know, it's just kind of it's been a different process every time, but I think that's part of the fun of it. But yeah, I mean, obviously some things never change though, in terms of like you're talking about inspiration, and you know, you always have to be, usually I would say we start with some kind of musical inspiration a lot of times before we even get to the lyrics. Both of us kind of gravitate towards, well, let's find a riff or a chord progression or something, or melody that's really inspiring, or a groove, or, you know, you kind of have to set the atmosphere before you even kind of come to know what a song is about.
Which is one thing Greg's historically been very good at. That's part of our kind of working relationship. He'll come up with something that'll just open up all kind of different musical and you know, lyrical worlds to me. Like that's a great idea. Can you play that again?
Yeah.
So.
No, well, it shows like it's such a team dynamic where like you all are trusting one another with the whole process. And even like for 10 years later, the process of what you guys are doing to create these songs, it's clearly working, because when things are like continuously building and bearing fruit, that is always a good sign. Okay. So this is what I'm going to put out there. A lot of my followers know this. So I am not a fan of country music. I do not like country music. However, I would not describe your music as country music. I was re-listening to some of your music this week on Spotify. It definitely has more of a bluegrass indie sound to it. Would you describe it the same way?
We love country music. I don't know if there's too many genres that we just detest.
Right.
We like a lot of different things, but we would not describe ourselves as country music, because being from Texas, there are a lot of bands that absolutely are country music. They work through, you know, they see themselves through that lens, and they market themselves that way. And, you know, we found out quickly that, you know, people coming to see our show that expected country music wouldn't like it. You know, it's like apples and oranges. You know, when you want dessert and you get a steak instead, it's like, well, I didn't want that. That's not good. It's like, well, but what if you know, if they come to our show expecting not country music, then with more of an open mind as to the genre, then they'll be able to. That perspective is the one to have.
Good.
Otherwise, you'll be disappointed.
Yeah, and if we have to put a genre on ourselves, which we do, because when you submit a track to Spotify or whatever, they make you put a genre. And we're not against genres. It's helpful to, you know what you like and what you want to listen to. But yeah, we generally refer to ourselves as Americana, which definitely does include, you know, elements of bluegrass and country and rock and blues and American folk music and roots music. So that's kind of kind of what we generally refer to ourselves as, an Americana band. And we're, we're growing up, on the coast of Texas. We were influenced by country, for sure, but Zach and I, we grew up, singing choir. I took classical piano lessons. Zach actually studied opera. I grew up. We love Bob Dylan and folk music, and some of our, we have some favorite rock bands as well. So we kind of come from a lot of different backgrounds musically, and so thus, when you listen to Blue Water Highway, it kind of all comes together. But
we're not strictly classical music. We don't make strictly classical music, but we definitely have that ethos where, like, a classical composer would take a folk song and sort of try and elevate it, make it interesting, add other styles. And we're absolutely in that world where we're like, I think this song needs a little bit of dash of this genre and this genre and this genre, and we put it all in that soup and make it into a Blue Water Highway thing. So that's what genre.
I love it. Yeah, no, it's a really beautiful sound that you guys are able to make. And, even just listening through American Made Again a couple nights ago, and I know that's your most recent single that you guys have out. So can you maybe just share, like, I know that's the most recent one, but is there a song or an album or something that you guys have created over these past 10 years where that song still really strikes a chord with you, or like you're still really, sitting with the lyrics of the songs that you guys came up with? Is there one song that is maybe your top at this time?
I think especially for your listeners, one that would maybe resonate would be a song from a couple albums ago called All Will Be Well, that Greg and I wrote many years before we recorded that album, and it almost didn't make it onto the album. But that album was released around the pandemic times, and it sort of worked its way from obscurity even in our own back catalog, because we write a lot of songs that don't always make it onto records. But it was providential, I would say, that it made it onto the record and then was released when it was released. And I think a lot of our fans find that song meaningful. We find it meaningful. It's called All Will Be Well. But that's the one that's a one I think your listeners appreciate, and one that's resonated.
Always sticks with us for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And Greg sings on that one. So I also sing lead on most of the songs, but we're a big harmony band, so we all sing together. Sometimes our female singer Catherine sings lead, and sometimes Greg sings lead, and that's his voice singing on that one.
Awesome. Okay, so I have to ask. So I know we think of Taylor Swift singing all about her exes and her relationships, and then we think of Noah Kahan singing all about his experiences growing up in the New England area. But what, in general, would you say your music is typically about? Is it about the faith? Is it about your lived experience growing up together? Is it about life down in Texas? Like, what are people going to really be entering into when they hear your lyrics?
I don't know if we've ever gotten that question before.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, so I take Greg as well, but we're kind of from the C.S. Lewis, J.R. Tolkien school of maybe not always explicitly Christian, but coming from that is our worldview. So the first priority is to write something that is true, good, beautiful.
Love that.
And just everyday experiences. And if you have a worldview sort of behind that as foundation, then it'll be all through that lens.
Sure.
And so we're not a quote unquote Christian band, because that honestly comes with a bunch of you get put in a box with that.
Yep.
Marketing
it can be limited there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole set of radio stations that your music could exist on for that, and that's fine for those folks, but that's not what we do, So we write about our experiences. We tell stories, our own stories, our family stories. I personally love doing that. I've got stories about my parents, my grandparents. We've got stories about Greg's family, and we'll put all that in the music, and we'll try and weave a story out of that is it will definitely come from our worldview, which is similar. Greg and I share that, and so I compared it to C.S. Lewis and Tolkien because they wrote a lot about that. Not trying to trick anybody, like, oh, this is secretly Christian or anything, but they were forthright about it, and we are as well.
Mm-hmm.
But really, sometimes people try to make something explicitly Christian, explicitly Catholic, and sometimes they don't try to make it good, so it comes out sort of propagandistic, or you know what I mean? It's not making a good story or making a good song, good cabinet, whatever it might be. That's your sole objective. Like, that's your main objective, and if you have that worldview behind it, then it'll be good.
Definitely. And even you guys are making me think of a company, Renovo Media Group, and they're located in Iowa. And that's their exact approach as well. They do not label themselves as a Christian or Catholic media group. They're just a media group. But their main prerogative is leaning into the transcendentals, like you said, the true, the good, the beautiful. And they're like, we do not take on like movie projects or TV show projects that are anything but those three categories. It could be something very mainstream or secular, and they'll take it on, but it needs to meet those three criteria. And I think it's so much right now, the world is so saturated with like any song you want to listen to, it's available at a drop of a hat. Any show you want to watch or movie you want to watch, it is so available to you. But it's like, but what is the underlying principles of each of those forums that are being put out there for the public to be able to take in, to ultimately like their minds and their souls? And so I think that is a great rule of thumb to lead by. I think a lot of people have a misconception of like, oh, if you're like Catholic or Christian, you only listen to that kind of music. It's like, no, like there's no way. Like after a while, I get so fed up with like the Catholic like channels or whatever it is. And so it is refreshing to, again, listen to music that comes from you guys with Blue Water Highway, where like, yeah, you can tell like there is like something that you guys have, put out there, like 100% of yourselves. And it's not just like, we want it to sound good so we can get the likes and the follows and the reshares and blah, blah. Like there's a genuineness and an intentionality that is clear with the process of your music writing. So I can recognize it. And this is not the like arena of work I'm in. And I'm certain like other people who will listen to your music or already are listening to it can sense that like authenticity that's driven by the true, good, and beautiful. So I think that's really great.
Thanks.
So can you guys maybe inspire people to hopefully go to check out your website for upcoming shows and that sort of thing? Sadly, I don't see anything on New England yet, but maybe you guys can share what's coming for this spring.
Yeah, sure. It's kind of early in the year here, so we're just kind of getting things booked and planned for the year. But yeah, we're doing our 10th anniversary album release shows, which is mostly going to be in Texas, unfortunately. But we will be touring later in the year, in the summer. We know we're going to be going up to Indiana, I think, at some point.
I don't know if Boston's on the list.
We have played in Boston, I believe, twice. Yeah. But it was probably like 7 or 8 years ago. House of Blues, and some other place that I don't think is there anymore. But yeah, we hope to, we've toured all over the U.S., so we're willing to go anywhere that anyone wants to, listen to our music. So if you know anybody up in Boston that wants to have us, we'd be glad to come that way. So.
Well, what kind of venues do you guys normally sing at? Is it typically like House of Blues where you guys are bringing in that kind of crowd in venue space, or is it also like, I don't know, like even a place like a Coachella where it's like multiple bands at once on like multiple stages? Like where do you guys typically go?
Yeah, all the above. Festivals, even house parties. I mean, we love those too. So house shows.
Sweet.
Yeah, the most we've ever played for is probably like 20,000 people, but the least we've ever played for has probably been like 4. So that's just the way. That's just the way the music industry goes.
Qualify the 20,000 by we had a little help from a little known artist named Bob Seger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Once very famous.
Well, that's good to know. We've been doing coffee houses lately here in the Boston area, because we're just seeing that there is, praise God, like so many people who are just in this area who are very good and have very good musical talents, and they need a space to like go and use them and build them up. And so, hey, maybe we could get you guys out here for one of those coffee houses. That'd be really sweet.
There you go. Yeah, be great. Love to go back in Boston. I'm a big history buff, so there's a lot of history there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Sweet. Well, can you guys please just share all the socials, all the website names, whatever you think would be best for people to go and check you guys out, even for your Spotify account to be able to give you a follow?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, on all the social media, we're at Blue Water HWY, the Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Well, TikTok, is that still a thing?
Yeah.
It
was gone.
It was gone. It's back. Our website's bluewaterhighwayband.com. And yeah, if you go to Spotify, type in Blue Water Highway, 3 words, you can find all of our music on there, including, so we're about to release a single next week, I believe, from our new album. So that'll be coming out on Wednesday. Is that right? Yeah. I think it's Wednesday. Yeah. So yeah, go, hit if you guys hit that follow button on Spotify, you'll be notified whenever we release new music on there. So it's always really helpful for us.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, Zack and Greg, thank you again for taking the time to just share more about your band in the process of just writing music, and hopefully people are inspired to go and listen today. And everyone, be sure to head to the description down below. I'll be sure to put all those links there again, so it's easy for you to access. And God willing, we'll see you guys maybe in Boston. And if anyone's in Texas, go check them out in March at their upcoming shows. And God willing, we'll see you next week with a new episode. God bless.